What if I told you the most important moment of your entire day lasts only 3 seconds? That fragile space right before you open your eyes, when you are not yet the disappointment, not yet the failure, not yet the person falling behind. Just awareness. Pure, untouched consciousness. And then, reality rushes in. The same problems, the same story, the same version of you. The ancient Stoics believed that a split second is the real you, before the world writes over you again. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, lost everything in a shipwreck and said, "I made a prosperous voyage when I suffered shipwreck." He wasn't being poetic. He woke up. Today, we'll break that old story and rebuild your mind with 7 Stoic laws. Each one designed to free you from the cages you didn't even realize you built. Like this video, comment, "I choose me," and let's begin. 1. You're not depressed, you're domesticated. You wake up every morning to an alarm that cuts through your dream like a blade. You roll over, stare at a glowing rectangle, and before you even take your first conscious breath, you've already been programmed. Check, scroll, compare, perform. The modern world calls this productivity. The Stoics would call it captivity. Every day you repeat rituals designed not to set you free, but to make you easier to control. By deadlines, by notifications, by invisible systems that reward obedience and punish stillness. You call it being responsible. But tell me honestly, when was the last time you felt alive while doing it? Look around your life right now. Not the Instagram version, not the filtered highlights, but the 2 a.m. version of you lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how something that looks so stable can feel so suffocating. You're not depressed, you're domesticated. Somewhere along the way, you were trained to trade instinct for instruction, curiosity for conformity, wildness for approval. You learned to live on command. Wake up, eat when the clock says noon, work until the screen tells you to stop. Smile when your soul is tired, and then wonder why everything inside you feels out of sync, why the body you live in feels like a stranger's home. You're not broken. You're reacting perfectly to an unnatural environment. The Stoics understood this long before we built glass towers and cubicles. Their philosophy wasn't about suppressing your emotions. It was about aligning your life with nature. Not forests and rivers, but your true nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good," meaning your rhythm, your purpose, your peace. They don't come from structure imposed by others, but from a harmony between action and being. When Diogenes, the philosopher who lived in a barrel, was offered riches and comfort by Alexander the Great, he looked up and said, "Stand out of my sunlight." He didn't hate comfort. He hated dependence. He refused to be caged by the expectations of kings. He chose freedom over validation. Tell me, when was the last time you did? We've mistaken captivity for civilization. We think control equals progress. We praise the man who never rests, never questions, never breaks pattern, but deep down, we envy the one who walks barefoot into the morning light, who laughs without reason, who dares to be unproductive, because he's still alive. You, my friend, are not lazy. You are exhausted from pretending. You've spent years performing a version of yourself that fits into everyone's storyline except your own. That ache in your chest isn't failure. It's your wild self, suffocating under good manners. So here's your Stoic challenge. Reclaim one corner of your day from the script. Eat when you're hungry, not when the clock strikes 12. Walk without your phone. Sit in silence without trying to fix or improve yourself. Do something gloriously impractical. Sing in the kitchen, dance badly, write nonsense, watch the sunset for no reason at all. And when that inner voice whispers, "This is silly," realize that's the voice of your cage talking, the voice that fears your freedom more than your failure. Remember, nature doesn't hurry, yet everything gets done. The river doesn't ask permission to flow. The storm doesn't schedule its thunder. Why should you? When you start living by your own rhythm, not society's timetable, not someone else's definition of success, the fog in your mind begins to lift. You remember that peace isn't a reward, it's your default state, buried under layers of conditioning. You are not sick. You are a wild thing trying to survive in captivity. Depression, in many cases, is not a disease of the soul. It's the soul's rebellion against confinement. So unlearn obedience. Disobey what makes you small. Be loyal to your aliveness. Because when you stop performing and start living, you'll realize the cage was never locked. You just forgot you had the key all along. 2. Stop feeding the addiction to suffering. Let's be honest. Pain can feel like home. Not because you enjoy it, but because it's familiar. You've carried it for so long that the absence of pain feels suspicious, even unsafe. It's the weight you've learned to balance your identity on. That's why, when peace finally arrives, you don't trust it. You start searching for the next problem, the next disappointment, the next reason to prove your suffering was justified. You're not weak for doing this. You're conditioned. Modern life rewards pain with attention. Post about your wounds and the world listens. Post about your peace and it scrolls right past. Without realizing it, you've learned that your struggles make you someone, while your healing makes you invisible. But here's the truth. Pain is not meant to be a permanent address. It's a message, not a home. The Stoics taught this relentlessly. Epictetus lost everything: freedom, status, comfort. Yet he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond that matters." When you build your identity around what happened, you hand your life to the event. When you build it around your response, you take it back. The benefit of letting go isn't denial, it's liberation. You reclaim energy that was feeding your wounds and redirect it toward growth. You stop being a monument to what broke you and become proof that healing is possible. Think about it. Every time you say, "I'm just not good with people," or "I've always been anxious," or "I've never been lucky," you're not describing reality. You're renewing a contract with your suffering. You're feeding it 3 meals a day with language and attention. The brain believes whatever it hears most often. So, your pain becomes your proof. Your story becomes your cage, and you start mistaking identity for intimacy, connecting with others only through shared misery instead of shared possibility. That's why content about despair feels so addictive. It doesn't make you feel better. It makes you feel seen. Algorithms understand this better than most therapists. They keep feeding you more of what hurts you because it keeps you watching. But suffering loses its grip the moment you stop rehearsing it. You don't need to deny your pain. You just need to stop worshipping it. When something hurts, feel it fully, then close the page. Don't turn it into scripture. The Stoics believed emotions are teachers, not tyrants. They show up to reveal what still needs attention, then they leave once the lesson is learned. You don't have to build a temple around every tear. Here's the benefit of letting go. The moment you stop feeding the addiction, your mind quiets. You start noticing that life isn't a constant storm. It just has weather. Some days rain, some days sun, but beneath it all, there's ground. Stable, solid, waiting. You remember what peace actually feels like, and you realize it was never gone. It was just buried under the noise of your suffering's monologue. So here's your Stoic exercise. For the next 24 hours, don't talk about your struggles. Not to others, not to yourself. When the urge comes to explain how hard it's been, notice it. Don't fight it. Just breathe through it and say quietly, "This moment is workable." Then spend 1 week collecting evidence, not for why your life is hard, but for why it's workable. When something goes smoothly, when a stranger smiles, when the weight lifts even for a few seconds, write it down. These small wins are not trivial. They're proof that your suffering isn't your whole story. And if you fall back into the old habit, repeating pain, replaying hurt, don't shame yourself. Just catch it, name it, and remind yourself, I'm detoxing. Because that's exactly what this is. A withdrawal from emotional dependency. You've been high on heartbreak, intoxicated by misery, hooked on the illusion that your pain is what makes you real. But you are really long before the pain ever arrives. You existed before the story began, and you will exist after it ends. Stop feeding what's trying to die inside you. Your pain doesn't need more attention, your healing does. And the moment you stop narrating your suffering like a legacy, you create space for a new identity. One built not on what you've endured, but on what you've chosen. 3. Break the cage of potential. Why do we cling to potential like it's a treasure, yet treat action like it's a threat? Because potential feels safe. It's a fantasy version of ourselves we can love without risking rejection. It's the dream we get to polish endlessly without ever having to test it against reality. As long as your potential remains theoretical, you never have to fail. You never have to confront the possibility that you might not be as exceptional as you hope. Or worse, that you might actually be brilliant, but only if you're willing to destroy the comfortable life built on hesitation. We glorify potential because it lets us stay noble in our procrastination. I could do that if I had time. If I really tried, I'd be great. These are elegant lies that protect your ego from exposure. The Stoics would call it self-deception, a form of pride disguised as humility. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Most people never get past the first part. They spend their lives endlessly defining who they might be, never crossing into the hard, messy, sacred work of doing. Why? Because clarity creates accountability. Once you declare what you want, every day you don't pursue it becomes a confession of fear. You've turned your potential into a museum exhibit, polished, untouchable, admired, but lifeless. You show it off in conversations. I've been thinking of writing a book. I want to start a business. I'm planning to get in shape. Yet months pass, and nothing moves. You're protecting the fantasy of greatness from the reality of growth. But the irony is brutal. Potential unused doesn't stay powerful. It decays. It leaks energy, corrodes ambition, and eventually turns into guilt. You start resenting yourself, not because you failed, but because you never tried. That resentment is the soul's rebellion against wasted fuel. Here's the cost of staying in the cage. The longer you avoid action, the heavier your self-doubt becomes. You start confusing inaction with reflection, hesitation with wisdom, and perfectionism with purpose. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right moment, but deep down, you're waiting for permission. Permission that will never come. The Stoics taught that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move despite it. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for ideal conditions to rule an empire or face a plague. He acted from principle, not convenience. You don't need certainty to begin. You need motion to discover what's true. And when you finally step into action, imperfect, trembling, raw, something miraculous happens. Reality meets you halfway. The moment you trade potential for practice, the air gets clearer. The anxiety that once paralyzed you transforms into focus. Because movement, even flawed movement, kills fear faster than logic ever could. Your mind can argue with ideas forever, but it can't argue with results. You gain evidence that you can adapt, survive, and grow. And that evidence rewires your self-belief. So here's your Stoic challenge. Do something you're terrible at, in public. Write the first page and post it. Record the messy first video. Sign up for that class you've been researching. Stop protecting your hypothetical excellence and start nurturing your real progress. You'll feel exposed, awkward, maybe even embarrassed. good. That discomfort is aliveness. That trembling is proof you're burning potential into power. Remember, the Stoics never worshipped perfection. They worshipped progress. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Every time you postpone action for fear of imperfection, you suffer twice. Once in fantasy, once in regret. But when you act, even clumsily, you break the loop. You turn someday into today. You turn theory into transformation. Stop rehearsing your greatness. Start demonstrating it. The world doesn't need your flawless potential. It needs your imperfect presence. You don't honor your gifts by hiding them. You honor them by using them until they burn bright enough to light someone else's path. 4. Permission is an inside job. Prohairesis. What are you still waiting for? For someone to tell you it's finally your time? For the world to stop long enough to give you a clear sign that it's safe to begin? You've built an entire identity around waiting. For validation, for conditions, for permission. You tell yourself you're being patient, strategic, and mature. But deep down, you're not waiting for a perfect moment. You're waiting for someone else to give you the courage you've always had. The truth is, nobody's coming. No parent, no partner, no boss, no divine signal from the universe is going to arrive with a certificate that says, you may now begin your real life. Because permission is not an external event, it's an internal decision. The Stoics called it Prohairesis, the faculty of choice, the one power no circumstance can take from you. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can conquer my will." Meaning, the world can limit what you can do, but it can never control what you decide to do. Yet most people live as if the opposite were true. Obeying invisible rules, chasing invisible approval, apologizing for their own existence. Why do we do this? Because we were raised in systems that reward obedience over originality. From childhood, you were taught to wait your turn, to raise your hand, to seek permission before speaking, creating, or even dreaming. Then you grew up, but the conditioning stayed. Now, before you send that message, start that project, move cities, or change your life, you still look around subconsciously for someone to nod yes. And when nobody does, you interpret the silence as rejection, not freedom. That's the tragedy. The absence of permission was never a no. It was the universe whispering, you decide. Think about the people you admire. The artist who shares imperfect work. The entrepreneur who starts while everyone says it's too risky. The athlete who trains in obscurity for a dream nobody else believes in. None of them were granted permission. They took it. They acted before they felt ready. Because readiness isn't a feeling that comes before the leap. It's a muscle you develop by leaping. You don't become confident and then act. You act, and confidence follows like a shadow. Waiting for permission keeps you trapped in the prelude of your own story, eternally preparing, but never performing. Here's the paradox. The longer you wait, the less permission you feel you have. Each day of hesitation adds another invisible lock to the door, and you start to believe that courage belongs to others, to the chosen, the lucky, the confident. But the Stoics knew better. They believed virtue, not approval, defines the right moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Translation: stop asking if it's okay to live. Just live. So here's your Stoic practice. Take out a sheet of paper. Make 2 columns. On the left, write every action you've delayed because you're not ready. On the right, write whose permission you're waiting for. A name, a role, a vague authority figure. Then, next to each, write the truth. This person isn't coming. Watch what happens. You'll feel a mix of fear and release. Fear because the safety net of waiting is gone, and release because you realize you've always had the key. Now, permit yourself to do one thing today that you've postponed for too long. Send the email, book the class, have the hard conversation. It won't be perfect. It's not supposed to be. The goal isn't flawless execution, it's reclaiming authorship, because every act of self-authorization is a declaration of freedom. You stop living on borrowed courage. You start building your own. The world doesn't need more people waiting for a sign. It needs people brave enough to be the sign. The only permission that matters has been yours all along. The permission to choose, to begin, to live before you feel qualified. I permit myself to begin. 5. Grieve the life you didn't live. What if your sadness isn't depression, but grief? Grief for the person you never became? There's no funeral for the dreams that died quietly while you were being practical. No one sends flowers when you bury your younger self under responsibility and fear. The world congratulates you for being mature, but deep down, something sacred went missing. That dull heaviness you carry isn't weakness. It's mourning. You're grieving unlived moments, abandoned callings, and a version of yourself that never had the chance to breathe. The Stoics never said grief was wrong. They said it was necessary. Seneca wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." But they also taught that tears are meant to flow, not stagnate. When you suppress grief, it doesn't disappear. It turns into numbness, irritability, or a quiet sense that life has lost its color. You scroll for hours, chase distractions, overwork, or chase affection, not to find joy, but to drown the sound of what you've lost. But the soul keeps score, and every time you ignore that ache, it tightens, like a ghost pulling at your sleeve, whispering, "Remember me." You see, grief isn't just about people who've died. It's about futures that never happened. The artist who stopped creating, the dreamer who settled, the lover who stayed silent, the fighter who gave up. Somewhere between your 20s and now, you traded wonder for practicality, passion for predictability, and called it growth. But real growth doesn't mean killing your past selves. It means honoring them, learning from their hopes, forgiving their mistakes, and carrying forward their essence in a wiser form. The benefit of facing this grief is profound. Once you name it, it stops haunting you. Depression whispers, "Nothing will ever change." Grief says, "Something has ended. Now what begins?" That's the difference. Depression paralyzes. Grief moves. It cracks you open, lets light in, makes space for new meaning. When you deny it, you stay stuck in emotional purgatory, half alive, half remembering. But when you let yourself feel it fully, you begin to live again, grounded in truth instead of illusion. Here's a truth nobody tells you. You're allowed to grieve the life you didn't live. You're allowed to miss the fearless version of you who believed anything was possible. You're allowed to cry for the dreams that didn't survive your survival. That doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. The Stoics called this acceptance of fate, not fatalism, but the courage to look at what is without denial or distortion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be ashamed of help. It is your destiny to need it." In the same way, don't be ashamed of sorrow. It is your destiny to feel it. Here's your Stoic practice. Tonight, write a eulogy for the version of you who never made it. Use their name. Here lies the version of me who wanted to. Describe their dreams, their light, their innocence. Thank them for getting you this far. Then say goodbye. Fold the paper, burn it, bury it, or simply let it go. This isn't a ritual of loss. It's one of liberation. You're not burying yourself. You're releasing the ghost that's been standing in your way. Afterward, ask the question Stoics used to rebuild meaning. What now? What now that you've acknowledged the past? What now that the mourning is complete? What value can you resurrect from what's gone? Let your grief refine you, not define you. Use it to build, to love, to live more urgently and authentically. Grief, when faced with courage, becomes a teacher. It reminds you that time is fragile, that possibilities expire, that the only thing worse than death is never having lived fully while you had the chance. Don't let the person you didn't become be a gravestone you visit. Let them be a foundation you build from. I grieve fully, then live fully. 6. You are not the narrator in your head. Have you ever noticed that your mind never stops talking? It comments on everything. What you're doing, what you should have said, what might go wrong tomorrow, what others might think right now. You could be sitting in silence, yet inside there's a constant broadcast, a narrator telling stories about your life. It pretends to be you. Same voice, same vocabulary. But here's the shock. It's not. You are not the voice. You are the awareness hearing it. That distinction is the line between peace and chaos. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They warned that the mind, left untrained, becomes both the torturer and the prisoner. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But most people live as if their thoughts are orders instead of opinions. When the mind says, "You're worthless," you believe it. When it says, "Everyone's ahead of you," you react. You let unverified thoughts dictate emotions, decisions, and even your self-worth. That's like letting a stranger walk into your home and rearrange your furniture every day, then wondering why nothing feels right. The reason we mistake thoughts for truth is simple. They sound familiar. They speak in our tone, recall our memories, and use our fears as vocabulary. So, we assume they must be us. But the Stoics, and later modern psychology, reveal that thoughts are simply mental weather. They come and go, some bright, some dark, none permanent. You don't have to fight every storm that passes through your sky. You just need to remember you are the sky, not the weather. Imagine this. Your mind is like a radio that never turns off. It plays whatever frequency your attention tunes into. When you're anxious, it broadcasts danger. When you're insecure, it leads to self-criticism. When you're exhausted, it whispers hopelessness. And every time you react, you're turning up the volume. The Stoics didn't try to silence the mind. They learned to observe it. They practiced awareness so sharp it could slice through illusion. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them." Translation: life doesn't hurt you, your interpretation does. Here's the benefit of understanding this. Once you separate awareness from the noise, your suffering starts to dissolve. You realize that most of your pain isn't caused by events, but by commentary, an overactive narrator dramatizing every experience. Think about it. How many arguments have you replayed long after they ended? How many nights have you relived imaginary futures that never came true? You weren't in danger. You were listening to a story, and the more attention you gave it, the more believable it became. Here's your Stoic practice. The next time your mind starts narrating, "I'll never get out of this. They don't like me. I'm falling behind." Pause. Don't argue. Don't obey. Just say silently, "That's a thought, not a prophecy, not a command, just weather passing through." Then take a slow breath, look around, and notice reality. Your actual surroundings, your heartbeat, your breath, your body in this moment. Ask yourself, is anything truly wrong right now? 90% of the time, the answer is no. The crisis exists only in the commentary. Each time you do this, you strengthen your Prohairesis, your faculty of choice. The same concept Stoics saw as sacred. You build distance between stimulus and response. You become the witness, not the puppet. The voice can scream, insult, predict, panic. But you, the awareness, remain calm. That calmness is not emptiness, it's clarity. And from clarity comes control. Over time, this awareness becomes your default state. The thoughts keep coming, but you no longer mistake them for orders. You start filtering your inner dialogue the way a Stoic filters external noise, discerning what's useful, discarding what's poison. And in that silence between thoughts, you'll find something extraordinary. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. You are not the narrator. You are the listener. You are not the storm. You are the sky. Let the thoughts come. Let them go, and stay where you've always been, still, steady, and free. I am the space, not the storm. 7. The 3-second choice that builds your day. What if every morning, before you even open your eyes, you've already made a choice to become the same version of yourself again? 3 seconds. That's all it takes. You wake up, remember your name, your job, your disappointments, your fears. And just like that, you step back into yesterday. The same worries, the same patterns, the same self-story you promised you'd outgrow. You call it routine, but it's repetition. You call it normal, but it's hypnosis. Those 3 seconds decide whether today becomes a new beginning or just a sequel to your old life. The Stoics called this moment premeditatio, the pre-meditation of the day. They believed the quality of your morning determines the character of your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." But instead of gratitude, most of us start with anxiety. We grab our phones, scroll through other people's lives, and by the time our feet hit the floor, we're already reacting, already behind, already becoming the person our habits decided we would be. Here's why that happens. The brain craves familiarity more than happiness. It would rather repeat misery it understands than risk freedom it doesn't. Every thought, every emotion you choose upon waking reinforces an identity. And identities love consistency. You think, "I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm behind," and your mind obeys, designing a day that fulfills that prophecy. You live in a psychological rerun because it feels safer than change. But safety isn't peace. It's stagnation disguised as control. The Stoic alternative is radical awareness. They didn't wait for the day to decide their mindset. They decided their mindset before the day began. They knew choice precedes emotion. They trained themselves to meet the morning not with reaction, but with direction. That's the 3-second window, the sacred pause before memory takes over. In that space, you can rewrite the script. You can whisper to yourself, "Today, I choose to be conscious." And that whisper is enough to alter everything that follows. Think about the power hidden in that pause. Before the first email, before the news, before the noise, you decide what kind of human you'll be. Will you react or respond? Will you scroll or create? Will you chase distraction or build discipline? Those 3 seconds are a doorway. Most people sleepwalk past it. But once you learn to stand on that threshold, even for a breath, you remember that life isn't something happening to you. It's something you're continuously choosing. Here's your Stoic practice. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, keep your eyes closed for 3 seconds. Don't reach for your phone. Don't reach for yesterday. Instead, take one deep breath and ask silently, "Who do I want to be today?" Not "what do I have to do," but "who do I choose to be?" Then make one micro choice that honors that person. Maybe that version of you doesn't check messages for 10 minutes. Maybe they drink water before caffeine. Maybe they speak kindly to themselves in the mirror. One choice. That's all it takes to tilt the axis of your entire day. Before bed, do an evening inventory. Review the day and count how many moments you lived intentionally versus automatically. Don't judge, just notice. Awareness itself is a transformation. Every time you notice, you reclaim a piece of your will from autopilot. 3 seconds in the morning, 3 minutes at night. That's the simplest Stoic ritual in existence. And yet, it can rebuild your entire identity. Because discipline isn't a list of rules. It's the art of remembering who you are before the world tells you who to be. So tomorrow, when you wake up and that tiny pause appears between dreaming and remembering, don't rush past it. Guard it like sacred ground. Because that's where your new life begins. 8. Virtue. Over applause. Embody, don't perform. You've made it here, and that already means something. You've just walked through 7 Stoic laws that strip away illusion after illusion, peeling back everything false until what remains is real. You've seen how comfort can cage you, how pain can become identity, how potential can paralyze, how permission can imprison, how grief can suffocate, how the mind can deceive, and how choice can liberate. But now comes the hardest part, living it. Because philosophy means nothing until it's embodied. Stoicism isn't about knowing the truth. It's about becoming it. In a world obsessed with applause, living by virtue feels like rebellion. Everyone's performing confidence, kindness, success, even authenticity. We've mistaken visibility for value. We chase validation like it's oxygen, not realizing that every time we seek approval, we hand our peace to someone else's opinion. Marcus Aurelius ruled the mightiest empire on earth, yet he wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what others say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." He understood what modern life forgets. You don't find freedom by being admired. You find it by being aligned with your principles, your conscience, your truth. Virtue, to the Stoics, was the only good worth pursuing. Not wealth, not comfort, not fame, just the daily practice of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Wisdom to know what truly matters. Justice to act rightly, even when no one sees. Courage to face fear without surrender. Temperance to stay balanced when the world demands extremes. Everything else, success, reputation, comfort, is preferred, indifferent. Useful, yes, but never defining. Because the moment your peace depends on applause, you've lost sovereignty over your soul. You were not meant to perform your life. You were meant to live it. To walk through your days with integrity so solid it doesn't need an audience. To do the right thing quietly, consistently, especially when nobody's watching. That's what makes you unshakable. Because applause fades, opinions shift, algorithms forget, but virtue endures. It doesn't trend, but it transforms. It gives your life weight, direction, and peace that no praise can replicate. So here's your final Stoic challenge. Choose one virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, or temperance, and make it your compass for the next 24 hours. When faced with a decision, ask, which choice aligns with this virtue? If it's courage, act even when afraid. If it's justice, treat others fairly, especially when no one's keeping score. If it's temperance, pause before excess. If it's wisdom, listen before reacting. This is how you embody philosophy. Not in grand gestures, but in microscopic choices that accumulate into character. And when the world fails to notice your integrity, and it will, smile. That's proof you've crossed the line from performance to embodiment. Because a Stoic doesn't need an audience to know who they are. You live for the applause of your own conscience. Look back at everything you've practiced through this journey. You broke the cage of comfort. You stopped worshipping pain. You released the ghost of potential. You permitted yourself. You mourned what was lost. You reclaimed your mind. You began choosing consciously. Every one of those steps was an act of virtue. Courage, honesty, self-control, wisdom. You didn't just learn Stoicism. You lived it for 30 minutes. Now, the real practice begins tomorrow morning, in the 3 seconds before your old story tries to take over again. That's where the arena waits. So when that moment comes, remember this. You don't need to impress the world. You need to respect your soul. Be the warrior of virtue, not the performer of peace. Be the quiet one whose actions speak louder than words. Be the kind of person you would trust when the world falls apart. Because applause will fade, but virtue will echo. You've just spent 30 minutes rebuilding your mind, piece by piece, truth by truth. But Stoicism isn't meant to stay in a notebook or a video. It's meant to be lived, one deliberate breath at a time. You don't need to fix your whole life overnight. You just need to wake up tomorrow and use those first 3 seconds before the old story returns. And choose differently. Don't chase motivation. Practice consistency. Don't chase approval. Practice virtue. You've seen what happens when you wait for the perfect moment. Nothing. So begin, even imperfectly. Because the difference between who you are and who you want to be isn't distance. It's a decision. This is your call to action. Like this video, share it with someone fighting their invisible battle, and comment below your final declaration. I choose to live, not just exist. Every day from now on, repeat it. Until it's not a sentence. It's your way of life.
The mind is a battlefield, and every day you wake up already surrounded by noise, pressure, expectations, and invisible forces trying to pull you away from your true path. But the ancient Stoics left behind a blueprint, a system of mental laws that act like a virtual reset button, rules that, if practiced deliberately, can rebuild your entire mindset in just 30 minutes. These aren't mystical or complicated. They are brutally simple, painfully honest, and deeply transformative. The first law is the law of control. It tells you to separate what you can control from what you cannot. Most people waste their lives drowning in imaginary problems, worrying about comments, judgments, insults, failures, or outcomes they can't change. But the Stoic mind knows one truth. Your power begins the moment you stop chasing control over things not yours. When you focus only on your thoughts, your actions, your discipline, your behavior, your mind becomes lighter, sharper, freer. Suddenly, the world loses its power over you. The second is the law of emotional independence, the ability to stand unmoved when the world pushes you. Life will test you through people, disappointment, rejection, delays, and unfairness. But Stoicism teaches that an untrained mind reacts, while a disciplined mind pauses. Stoics do not suppress emotions. They simply do not give emotions the power to control their lives. They choose responses, not reactions. They decide how they feel, how they speak, and how they act. And in that small moment of pause lies unimaginable strength, the kind of strength that rebuilds your entire identity. The third is the law of reality acceptance. Most suffering is born from resisting what already exists. The Stoics understood that the world will never bend perfectly to your expectations. People will betray you, plans will fall apart, opportunities will slip away, and yet the Stoic mind remains unbroken, because it doesn't waste energy resisting the inevitable. Acceptance is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the art of saying, this is what's in front of me, and now I will choose the best possible response. When you stop fighting reality, you start mastering it. The fourth is the law of deep focus, a forgotten discipline in a world of endless distraction. Modern life is built to scatter your attention, notifications, noise, comparison, overstimulation. But the Stoics believe that a focused mind is a powerful mind. When you remove distractions, silence the unnecessary, and train your mind to stay with one task until completion, your thoughts stop trembling. Your life becomes clearer. You take control of time instead of being dragged by it. Focus is not a talent. It is a training. And every minute you strengthen it, you rebuild another part of your mental foundation. The fifth is the law of turning pain into power. Stoicism teaches that no pain is useless unless you choose to waste it. Every hardship is material for growth.